As Iran brushes off a US ceasefire push, are Mujtaba's allies in Yemen now unleashing Houthi missiles as the next pressure card on Israel and Washington? After Tehran slams the door on Trump's ceasefire deal, do Houthi barrages on Israel show how quickly the resistance front can switch from pause to all-out fire? And when fresh rockets fly just hours after Houthi leaders vowed to hold fire in the Red Sea, is their restraint already dead, or simply being redirected? When a senior Houthi figure tells CNN we'll honor ceasefire if, is he offering real de-escalation, or spelling out new red lines that keep the Red Sea on edge? Once Houthi missiles slam into southern Israel in a joint op with Iran and Hezbollah, can anyone still claim the ceasefire signals were serious, or is this truce already dead on arrival? As the Iran war heats up, Yemen's Houthis say they will hold their fire for now in the Red Sea, even as tensions rise and ceasefire signals flicker in the background. The Iran-backed group says it will honor a ceasefire with the United States as long as Washington also stops strikes and avoids new provocations. A senior Houthi leader told CNN that they have no interest in escalating against America or regional states unless they are attacked first. At the same time, the Houthis resumed missile and drone strikes on Israel in March 2026, openly positioning themselves as part of Iran's wider support network. However, since the Iran war began, they have notably avoided hitting Red Sea shipping lanes or direct US assets, keeping that front on a kind of conditional pause. Mohammed Ali al Houthi said, and I quote, "There is no intention to target any Muslim country except in response to aggression against Yemen. Our goal is to prevent the Red Sea from being used militarily against any Muslim country." Unquote. Yet shortly after those comments, Houthis carried out a massive missile attack on targets in southern Israel, signaling that restraint does not extend to Tel Aviv. The group said that the April 6 barrage formed part of a joint military operation coordinated with Iran's Revolutionary Guard and Hezbollah. Houthi spokesmen claimed they used a mix of drones and missiles and that the operation achieved its objectives with precision, though Israel has not confirmed full impact.
In support of, and as a pillar for, the jihad and resistance in Iran, Lebanon, Iraq, and Palestine, and within the framework of the Zionist scheme that targets the children of our nation in the region, seeking to establish what is called Greater Israel under the guise of changing the Middle East, the Yemeni armed forces, with the help of Allah Almighty, have carried out a joint operation with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and the Islamic resistance in Lebanon. With the support of guided missiles and drones, they targeted several vital and military sites belonging to the Israeli enemy in the area of al-Rashrash, in the south of occupied Palestine. And, by the grace of Allah, the operation successfully achieved its objectives. The Yemeni armed forces, based on their religious, moral, and humanitarian obligations, in this historic battle, proudly and honorably stand alongside what the Muslim people of Iran represent in terms of glory and victory for their steadfastness, their solidarity, their unity, and their sacrifices, and for their noble role in thwarting the enemy's schemes. All salutations to this great people, and to their religious duty and firm stance in rejecting aggression and hegemony, and in affirming freedom and independence. Salutations to the Iranian armed forces and to the Revolutionary Guards. Salutations to the Mujahideen of the Islamic resistance in Lebanon, and to the heroes of the Islamic resistance in Iraq, the land of glory.
After 7 weeks of US airstrikes last year, Washington and the Houthis agreed a Red Sea truce in May 2025 to calm the maritime front. The deal was designed to restore freedom of navigation after a long campaign of Houthi attacks on ships they said were linked to Israel. Because the Houthis control most of Yemen's Red Sea coastline, they hold major leverage over one of the world's most important shipping lanes. Notably, up until that May 2025 truce, Houthis had spent nearly 2 years targeting vessels they claimed were tied to Israel or its allies. Those strikes forced many global shipping firms to reroute around Africa, avoiding what is normally one of the busiest maritime corridors. Just last week, Houthi officials warned that fully closing the Bab al-Mandab Strait remains a viable option if the war escalates further. Bab al-Mandab is a critical choke point linking the Red Sea to the wider Indian Ocean routes, making any threat there a global concern. Their comments landed just as Iran and the US received a 45-day ceasefire proposal from mediators, raising questions about whether this is leverage or a path to de-escalation. On April 6th, reports said a 45-day ceasefire plan was under discussion between Iran, the US, and regional mediators. Built as a two-phase framework, first a temporary halt, then talks toward a broader agreement to end hostilities. Iran has pushed back on a short, standalone truce, arguing it would simply give the US and Israel time to regroup and rearm. Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmaeil Baghaei says Tehran wants a real end to the war and guarantees to prevent recurrence, not just a pause. He added that Iran has drafted a written response to US demands passed via Pakistan and other intermediaries, but will not accept what it calls excessive terms.
Based on our own interests and considerations, we have consistently set out the full range of demands we have had and continue to have. Look, we are not ashamed to voice our legitimate and reasonable demands. The fact that, in response to a proposal, the Islamic Republic of Iran clearly and courageously presents its own views should in no way be interpreted as a sign of backing down in the face of the enemy. Negotiation in no way involves an ultimatum, a crime, or a threat to commit war crimes. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the Iranian nation have very, very bitter experience of negotiating with America, and we did not gain these experiences lightly to simply ignore them. A few days ago, through intermediaries, proposals were put forward, which became known as the 15-point American Plan, conveyed via Pakistan and some other friendly countries. At that time, we also announced that such proposals are both excessively demanding and unreasonable and illogical.
At the same time, an Iranian military spokesman has warned the US and Israel against further strikes on civilian infrastructure across the region. On April 6th, Ibrahim Zolfagari said any repeat attacks on civilian targets would trigger retaliation that causes losses several times greater than before.
From the beginning, we had declared that any attack on civilian targets would be met with a multiplied response against the enemy's interests anywhere in the region. If attacks on civilian targets are repeated, the next phases of our offensive and retaliatory operations will be carried out much more forcefully and on a wider scale, and their losses and damages, if they persist in this approach, will be multiplied.